Hello, it is Tuesday evening as always. I'm going to have the chameleon right sitting in front of my face. And it's Tuesday. Let's do that. No, you see, adjusting cameras with these things is not really easy. That's better. It's Tuesday evening. Hello, everyone. It is, as usual, the Sparkle Hour. And today, the Sparkle Hour without Kellyanne. Unfortunately, Major Kellyanne Evans has been deployed to do vaccination or to oversee vaccination. So, cheers, Major. Here you go. Enjoy your vaccination thing. And I'm sure she's going to watch later on. She said, I hug you, bastard. Taking the mickey out of me. And she was just telling me she's exhausted. Today's guest is my dear friend and fellow go-giver, David Bryan. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome, David.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've been watching your show a good bit with Matthew a few weeks ago, and so I'm excited to be here. This is really cool.
And I really love that because, as you say, Matthew was one of, I said on my announcement there, is that one of my favorite people on the planet, as you are as well. And I'm not going to say why yet, because everybody needs to experience, as I said in the description, I need to experience your wisdom. And I think it's amazing. So let's just run the jingle and we're going right into this one. Here we go. Bring you in good mood now, David.
All right.
And we are back.
I love it. I love the little lizard too. Like, he's really cool.
Okay. The chameleon, yes. You
Right.
see, this is the
Be the
flamingo.
chameleon. Be yourself, right? It's very much on
Exactly, and that's what it is. Kind of funny because the story behind the chameleon flamingo is when we created initially the brand image, we wanted to have some fun to it. So and Kellyanne is not a freak of flamingos, but she is an avid flamingo person. So she has flamingos everywhere. That's why I have all these flamingos in my office.
Okay.
Don't even ask. So how that ended up. So eventually I said to Kelly, and I said, yeah, it's all good flamingos, but I'm more of the chameleon because I'm very colorful and I can actually change. I learned so many things. I don't need to go to university for 1,000 things. I am interested in everything. So like doing the videos, I did the videos myself. I got frustrated for many years that when I was trying to get marketing advertisement done, I had to sit there and explain a person what I had in my head. Yeah. And I could never get out of them what I wanted. So eventually I just sat down. I learned how to do animation. It's kind of funny, and I'm a bit of a geek on that.
That's fun.
So that's a chameleon. And see, the chameleon is actually on. Let me go here. It's like this is my representation in the office. So here's my chameleon. So
I love it. I love the colors. I love it all. I'll be in Palm Beach this weekend and next week with Bob and Kathy and Matthew and everyone and Anna, and so I'm excited to be there with the Go-Giver community beyond the mastermind. It's gonna be fun.
This is going to be amazing. I wanted to come, and unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, it was very unsure for me that I was able to go. And then I had actually an event I had to do a speech on, and I couldn't cancel it anymore. So I said, Kathy, I'm sorry, I'm really upset. I can't go. But hey, listen, this is another time. Exactly. It's just going to be another time. With COVID, unfortunately, here in the UK, it's all going crazy again. And I think it's unfortunate because you think like everybody's getting bit back to normal life. And now with the spikes, I don't know how it's right now in the States, but I think it's the same thing. The spikes are going crazy. And I mean, yes, it's more mild, but that doesn't change anything because I find it always funny when they say, oh, it's more mild, but then they announce 350 deaths a day. And I'm like, Well, tell that to the 350 people that just died. It's more
Yeah.
mild. It doesn't. You see, it doesn't make any sense. And saying actually, as I said many times, saying that it's like the like the flu. They actually were trying today. Today there was a very interesting article here in the UK where they said we cannot assume and we cannot put it on the same level of the flu at the moment. It's not an endemic right now. It's still a pandemic, and we have to be really sure about that. And just because Omicron has been more mild doesn't mean that the next variant is going to be as mild again.
Sure.
And the virus always tries to adapt to actually exit any protection that we do have. So I think people get complacent, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
I read this morning that there was a only record high of COVID hospitalizations in the U.S. today. So
yeah,
it
it's just I think as well it's people. I understand that everybody wants to go on with their life. However, David, I find it's done the wrong way, and and I think we need to be more cautious and more reflective on what we do. I mean, I've been protecting myself for the last 2 years, and I do think that everybody should do it, and as well for the respect to other people. I understand there's no mask, no vaccine. I'm like, and then it drives me insane when these no vaxxers then get into hospital and actually die or even almost die, and suddenly they come out and say, "Oh, I wish I had listened."
Yeah.
Well, that is it's a bit late to think about it, because right now you should have thought about that beforehand. It's unfortunate, as I said, I'm not the big fan of the vaccine because I think it's quite untested. But hey, listen, I weighed the danger of the vaccine and the danger of getting COVID again, which I thought like, I don't want to have it a second time in my life. I had it once, and I really don't want to have it another time. So that's how I see things anyway.
Yeah,
So
I had it 2 weeks ago. I was down for about 10 days, and it was there was one day where it was actually scary. I was concerned, and
yeah,
and then my buddy and I, whose house this is, we just lost a good friend of ours to COVID, and he died on Tuesday. Yeah, and
yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, Dave, because that's what I think as well. A lot of people don't why they get complacent, because they haven't been affected themselves yet, most of them, and as soon they get affected on a personal level by it, they change their their narrative very quickly. Because as I said, I had it really in the beginning, like in March. Yeah, what was it, March 2020? My God, it's 2022 already. It's like this. Like I had it right in the beginning, and I was really bad. I was like about 7 days with hospitalization and everything. So I was really bad. And I don't wish that to anybody. As you have said, it's like one day it was really scary. And I had this scary day as well, where it makes you reflect right on the spot and say, I really don't want to argue this anymore. It's more dangerous than the flu, obviously. And I mean, people have to be realistic. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, COVID. All right. We're talking about it enough already. So, David, tell us a bit, in a nutshell, what do you do?
What do I do? So, I think it all goes back to me at the age of 21 finding out I was going to be a dad, and realizing, oh my goodness, here I had college paid for, and had long hair and a ponytail, but it was because my hair is really curly. So if I didn't put it in a ponytail and I brushed it out, it would be like this, right? It'd be like mushroom. And so I played music and was a singer, and always loved music. And then, I had to cut my hair and get a real job, as they say, to provide for my son. And I got into sales, and the my being who I am, my father was a minister growing up, and I just always loved people. And I always loved, like, I was just love. I was all about love, right? And you know, finding connection with people, and um, uh, just seeing people connect and light up is really what lights me up. And seeing people break through challenges in their lives that are holding them back. And I think in my 20s, I really went down a rough path. And I made some choices in my life that, look at Estelle there saying hello. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and you know, I made some rough choices, and got into addiction, and made, you know, wasn't as present with my kids. I was reflecting back during when I had COVID on my times with my children growing up. And while growing up with my kids growing up, I remember great moments with my kids. And I also remember having to break away and smoke a cigarette every now and then, because I smoked like a pack a day for over 10 years, and while in my 20s, and which I yeah. So I look back on that, and I think about, I really wasn't that present. And so I've talked to my older kids who are now 21 and 20, um, 21 years later, and I remember, like, I mean, recently my daughter, who's 20 years old, said to me, she said, "Dad, those memories that you have of us, we don't remember them the same way."
Mm.
And it made me think about how our perceptions of the world and the stories we tell ourselves about experiences that we've had in our lives, um, can either be, you know, what is it that's actually real and what is it that's actually not? And then my father had a great saying one time. He told me, he said, "David, there's two sides of a story in every relationship and a breakup or whatever it is. There's what you say, and there's what they said, and then there's what really happened." and it's interesting because it's like, do we ever really know what the true, you know, because our experience of something isn't necessarily what another person's experience is, which is why I think I really relate a lot with Bob's book, Adversaries into Allies, Bob Berg's book, because it's like understanding that people have different worldviews. They have different experiences of the world. And if you're going to be able to have genuine influence, as he calls it, in the lives of others, you have to really understand that, hey, your worldview, the way that you see the world, isn't necessarily the way they see the world. So it's getting into understanding and saying, hey, how can I, with tact and empathy, be able to really begin to understand their world and step into it and empathize with that? And so I think, to answer your question in a long roundabout way,
No.
it's really seeing my passion. I always say there's two things: passion and purpose are very different. And in work that I do in consulting or coaching type work, I'm not like a certified coach or anything like that. I have very few certifications, which is, I'm kind of like, you know, I've done a lot of I didn't even graduate college, but I ended up going to Harvard for 6 months and hanging out with Harvard kids. So I say I hacked Harvard at the age of 40. That's a whole story in and of itself, but with my tech company. But you know, what really lights me up, Chris, is seeing people be liberated from suffering. And that is something I'm very passionate about, and it's intertwined with my purpose. So I say, with purpose, what makes your soul cry? So what is it that, like, oh man, like you start crying, like, why am I crying? Like there's some kind of connection here. That's number one. Number two is, what is it that is, you're so that just lights you up so much where you're just like, what is this uncontrollable joy? Like, I want to see more of this, right? So to me, if you tap into what those things are, you can really begin to find your purpose. Your passion is very different. I say, what makes your heart sing, right? So I can be passionate about music. I can be passionate about going to a Tony Robbins conference. I can be passionate about learning Bob Berg's, studying the Go-Giver and things like that. But what in my passions really can be extracted with a deep knowing of this is what I need to do. I need to do this. I need to serve and give in this way. And that could truly just be the best father that I can possibly be to my kids. That's very much intertwined into my purpose. So what I've realized about my purpose in life is to end financial suffering in business. That's a very bold statement. Yet every business that I'm a part of that I get connected to has a line and a thread towards, as Bob calls it, really the kind of the true north of the Go-Giver is prosperity for all. And how can we create prosperity for all? And not just money, but in joy and relationships and connection and so forth. So those are the things that really drive me. And the way that those are expressed in my life is through my primary business and really core mission in my life is a company called KeyTurn that I've been at for 8 years now. and it started back in 2014 to 16, and we proved a new way to do business in the construction industry that saved 25% off the general contractors and owners budget, 15% waste reduction, and we got all vendors and workers paid on time accurate amounts. Prior to that last job, the previous 3 jobs that we did, we had to recover over $50,000 in unpaid wages for workers. So there's a huge, talk about a pandemic, an epidemic, I guess you could say, is more in the fact that the flow of money in business is very disjointed and very disconnected, and it's not seamless. It's not linear. And so that's something that I've personally not been paid over $100,000 by a single client back in 2015. Client didn't pay me $100,000. And so that hurt and nearly bankrupted me, and probably could have, and yet I didn't. And then, but because of the accomplishments, I just said, hey, I got knocked down. It was December of 2016. I moved in with my dad, had to move from Nashville, moved in with my dad, and in North Carolina. 2 months later, I was invited to Harvard Business School to go through the Rock Accelerator for our tech company we were starting. And so I went from homeless to Harvard to one of the sharks on the show Shark Tank, investing several $100,000 in our business, all within less than 9 months. Pretty crazy, huh?
Fantastic.
So we raised, close to $1 million in that business. And then in 2019, we basically ran out of all the money, and to make some decisions in my life of, am I going to turn it all in, just cash out and say, or not cash out because there's no money to cash out. But just say, hey, it's been a good ride. I did the best I could. I'm going to move on. And I don't think I decided that's not what I wanted to do. So we got creative. I mean, I drove Uber and Lyft at a time just to make ends meet, did what I had to do. And then I created consulting businesses over the last few years. But I read The Go-Giver a few months after that happened, when we ran out of money. And I read it like 4 times in a row. And it really put me on a path of saying, hey, this is who I am. I love to give, I love to serve, but is there a way to both give and serve and create prosperity and abundance and financial success, right? Like, and provide for my family and so forth. How can you do both? And I think that's really what the Go Giver is all about, and what really connected all of us, right? So,
Yeah.
so then I have a consulting business where I coach kind of healers and light workers and stuff like that, that they're more in the woo-woo space, I guess you could call it. And I love just helping people who are like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I have this big vision, of what I want to do, but I've been in this job. You may be making tons of money, doing great, but you're not really fulfilled. And so I love working with people like that, and then helping find their purpose, because I think I live a very purpose-driven life, and can help other people do the same thing. And then I also have a software development company that builds websites and mobile apps and stuff like that for large and small companies and stuff. So I love what I do. So I express that big mission in a few different ways. If I do any business, I have to make sure that those are really connected to my purpose in a way. And I can always find something in it. It's a thread that's connected to purpose that allows me to then go, really be driven to do it each day, if that makes sense. And if I don't have one of those things, then I call it being soul aligned. If it's not soul aligned for me, then it's just going to fall away and I'm not going to do it. So anyway, long answer, but
no, but an amazing answer, because it gives a very good overview. So it opens a few questions for me as well. So one of the first questions I do have here right now is, like, as you said, if it's not aligned with you, and I think that's anyway the biggest problems in business in general. I've been known as a coach to decline clients, and I find it really funny. It's because people, they get really shocked, and it's like, why you don't want me as a client? Because I'm just not aligned with you. So now I've gone, initially I had always a 30-minute discovery call. And I have recently changed all this. I have now made a commitment that all my connections I reach out to 2-hour call. And it's a life-changing coaching experience. And if at the end of this life-changing coaching experience, where I actually do coach you, my Go Giver way of coaching you, there's no money attached to it. I'm not even doing your proposal. I can make your proposal at the end, but I don't do it automatically. I will ask you at the end, do you know somebody that might be benefiting from that, from coaching, that you just experience yourself? Most of the time they actually say it's me, but sometimes they don't. And I don't attach anything anymore to this outcome, to the call. I actually want to give them this life coaching experience and this understanding of life-changing experience. Because I think, when I go to the point where I say it's actually looking at a bigger picture of everything. And I think for me, the Go Giver book did exactly that, looking at the bigger picture of things, saying that you give value to these people and you don't even know where that's going. I trust in the 5th law, where it says, okay, the law of reciprocity, I get it back. It's going to come back to me at one stage, and I believe in the universe. So I'm actually and as you probably know, I grew up in a cult, so I don't have any religious belief anymore on either side. I do believe in a power, yes, and I do believe in the universe, and I do believe in whatever we postulate into the universe gets back to us as well. It's like I said on one of the shows, I said, like, if you tune into Shit FM, so that's what you're going to get. So you better manifest the right way, so if you're always in your limiting belief, it's not going to work. So, but saying that, to be very honest to you, is just, I find it's really the most important thing of a life purpose, and serving as well as purpose, is for me to be aligned with people. And unfortunately, I find a lot of people where I just say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And it's not being in a mean way. I will address them or send them to somebody else where I think would be better aligned with them. But for many years, I have taken on clients where I had already in the beginning of the call where I was like, yes, they wanted to have coaching. It's like, it's not of nobody needs coaching. That's my opinion as well. Nobody needs coaching. You need to want coaching. There's a big difference between of needing coaching and wanting coaching. I think nobody needs coaching. I think you need to want coaching. And if you want coaching, that's when you're coachable and you're actually open to listen to a coach as well. And I find it really interesting there. So, what do you think about being aligned with people? Do you come across that as well in your business where you say, sorry, I cannot?
Yes. And I think that starts with us, with me. I think it starts with me beginning to it starts with me understanding myself better and better, to know this is who I am. This is what I'm good at. These are my strengths. These are the areas I'm not as strong. And, we can try to develop the areas where weaknesses or whatever, we can try to really enhance and develop that so we're more well-rounded and so forth. Or we can really continue to enhance our strengths, right? And be great at something, right? It's like Michael Jordan tried to become a great baseball player, right? He's a great basketball player, right? And he became arguably the best basketball player to ever live. And he really tried hard at baseball, and it was not so great, right?
That's great.
And so, for me, it begins with me. And what are my strengths and how can I really help people? And then begin to, as the Go-Giver, Bob has an online course called Selling the Go-Giver Way. Yeah. And then another one called Endless Referrals. And I just finished Selling the Go-Giver Way and am in Endless Referrals. And we're actually going to start like a work group as well for like all the people in the Go-Giver Success Alliance to like go through it together, and like accountability and collaboration and stuff. It's going to be fun. And just, cause like I know that for me, who has challenges with focusing oftentimes, I find that I need that accountability and collaboration. And yet I don't want to be forced to do it, to your point. I want to do it. I have to want that accountability. I have to want that collaboration. So I completely agree with you. And to your point, it was interesting. I was observing this morning. I have a pretty disciplined daily practice that I've had to develop in my life in order to clear out the cobwebs in this brain, because I've experienced PTSD and trauma, to your point, and could go into a lot of the details of what all those things are. Yet I realize, hey, there's some things that have to be reoriented up here and here every day, and align my head and my heart, my soul together each day. And how do I do that? How can I actively do that? So I've developed practices for that. And in which is meditation, breath work, the Wim Hof method, where I do cold water immersion every day, whether it's just a cold shower or actually go into a cold water creek or ice bath, whatever it is. Love it. It's been the best thing for my mental health, truly, to rewire the synapses in my brain towards positivity, as opposed to saying life is not happening for me, it's happening to me. But instead, no, life is happening for me, not to me. And abundance is everywhere. And if I just get in the flow, then that can happen. So today, since this morning, I'm not joking you, I am clumsy at times, I have to say. And I spilled water 4 times today. 4 times, not just one, right? But I was like getting out of this hotel, and I had this big 3-gallon water jug, and I busted it and it broke, right?
Oh,
like
my
it
God.
broke all over the floor and in the elevator, right? It was hysterical. And so I just walked downstairs, like doing the walk of shame, like downstairs to the front desk, and I'm like, I just spilled water all over the elevator. I'm so sorry. They're like, it's okay, we'll clean it up and all this. And so it was just funny. So then I like spilled water again at the gas station. And I'm like, what is going on? What do I need to pay attention to?
Mm-hmm.
And what came to me a few minutes later is I was driving to my buddy's house here. I saw these birds that were flying in the air, and they were flying in unison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how birds will just flow like this. And then half of them went, then they split. And it made me think, water's meant to flow. Water's always going to find a way. You can contain it, but eventually it's going to find a way, right? It evaporates back down. So if you box it in, it'll eventually find a way. It'll freeze, it'll expand, whatever it needs to do, but water's going to find a way. And then the second thing is that it's okay if people decide to go in different directions. Mm-hmm. This just happened right before coming here. So you asking this question, I think, is really powerful and speaks to, maybe the message of today is it's okay to take a different path in life. Hmm. Our friend who passed away this week, he chose a very specific path in life. Mm-hmm. That path in life had certain consequences to it. I'll tell you this about him. He lived an authentic life. That man, he was like, this is who I am, and I don't care, like he just was who he was. And he had a podcast. He just spoke his mind. And we can speak our mind to the point of there's consequences to every path and decision that we take. So to me, why not follow the one that lights you up?
Of course.
And so why work with people that you don't feel aligned with?
That's the point. It's like, I remember a couple of weeks ago where I was on your show with Ideas to Impact. So if nobody is actually on Clubhouse, or somebody here is on Clubhouse, really go for this show. I haven't been for the last 2 weeks. I know for Christmas and New Year's.
We took some time off. You took
some time off, and you needed some time off with having COVID, and I absolutely grant you that. But I know that one day, and I talked about it to Matthew on the show. He's like, he put me on spot. I was just finishing my book, revising my book last minute to upload it, and he just put me on spot. And he's like, and I was listening. It's not that I was listening, but I was typing it at the same time. And then he said, "So, Chris, what do you think about it?" And I'm like, "What? What's going on here?" But it took me about 10 seconds to get my hands back again. And I said at that point, for me, one of the things is really important is to set boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I think boundaries are so important. Yeah. I, as you, and I have CPTSD now. I have ADHD since I'm child. I know that. I've been off medication for 4 years. Now I'm going back on medication this week. It's actually starting. I just went through a new assessment. And so they're putting me now on Vivanase or whatever it's called now. Anyway, so we're training in medication here. And then in this new assessment came out that I have autistic traits, which I didn't know. So apparently I have a light version of autism at the same time. It's all good. Not that I need another diagnosis.
You're perfectly awesome in whatever you have. So
and that's what it is. Exactly. I said, my diagnosis don't define me. They actually my superpowers, and that's how I see them anyway. Mm-hmm. But to be very honest to you, it's like for many, many years, I have been trying to please other people, and I've always put myself on the back burner of everything. I was always thinking, like, how can I serve for the people? I always did that, but to an extent where I lost my true identity, who I was. So we're talking about the chameleon, which we talked earlier about. It was like trying to adapt to situations. And obviously now my trauma came out very late. It came out like at almost 50, which just came out of the blue. I didn't even know that I had all this childhood abuse. Talking about the awesomeness of our brain, obviously, I'm obsessed with our brain since I was diagnosed with ADHD, because in the 80s nobody really knew about it. It was just new, and nobody could give me an explanation really. So I started to study how our brain works, and so that's why I'm very into it. Anyway, dealing with all that and going through your own trauma, you actually realize you need to set boundaries, and that is one of the first steps for me, was where I said, who am I really? What do I believe? And what touches my boundaries? And why do I have to bend myself for other people? I don't anymore. Sometimes I'm very blunt and I'm very direct, and people find, and I find it really funny that people say like, oh, you're rude or you're offensive. This is not rude or offensive. I'm just sorry, we're not aligned. That's it. End of story. Why would I even bother? Why do I need to bend myself for other people? I don't think that is what we are put on this planet for. And I think impact is based on your authenticity. And if you cannot be authentic to yourself, how can you expect to coach somebody else and even to impact their life in the right way? I don't think that is working. So for me, that is a really important thing. Something that actually, as I said, I find the trauma sometimes a blessing, because I actually learned to be authentic to myself and don't accept anymore anything. One big part of that one, and maybe you want to talk about your trauma recovery. One big part from my trauma recovery was to be able to forgive my parents. And forgiveness is something that people always confuse. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting it. It doesn't mean endorsing it. It doesn't mean what they have done. I'm sorry, and I'm trying to be nice here, was effed up to the highest level of being effed up, to be very honest. That is past. I cannot change anymore. But I forgive them because I think they're very sick people. And being able to say, I'm sorry, you're very sick people. Well, my mom is dead already anyway, 30 years now. My dad, but he's a very sick person.
And you mean sick in like the mind?
Mentally sick. Yeah, mentally sick, because you wouldn't do that, what they have done to me. You wouldn't do that to a child. So you wouldn't do that to any person, right? Which is almost up to mental, physically, and sexually torture, I tell you that. And it's like, but for saying that now, because obviously when it hit me, it just hit me out of the blue. And these flashbacks came, and I went like, what the hell is going on? You even start, and I'm sure when you have your when you talked about PTSD, you get to this point where you question your own mind. You question the reality of the images you're actually seeing. Well, why these images have been confirmed by outside people by now. But initially, I was even saying to my therapist or my mental health practitioner, I said, I'm not sure if it's actually true what I'm seeing here. What is happening with my brain? I actually thought I was losing my mind there at one point. But then once you get the confirmations about these things, and you understand how amazing our brain is, that it can keep it locked up for 30 plus years. I mean, I know that I walked out from home at 16 anyway. Had to do as well with the cult, because I got pushed somewhere with the cult. But anyway, to be very honest, this ended about 15, 16, when they couldn't, continue their abuse anymore. But I'm so surprised that I actually had no recollection of this years prior to that, which I have now a full recollection of it. But for me, the most important thing, as I said, was the forgiveness, because you can only move on in your life if you forgive them. And that just, for me, I flattened it out. Obviously, I do IFS, and I do believe IFS has helped me tremendously. And I do check in with my parts on a daily basis. I have to. Even after every call with a customer or with a client, I have to check in with my parts, because they might trigger me, actually.
Right.
Because something they say might just trigger me. And
Yeah.
so every time after a call, I sit down, I take these 15 minutes mindfulness for myself. And I check in with my partner. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
What you just heard. And there are a lot of times where they come up and say, well, I really don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We can like that. Yeah. I relate. We speak about IFS, and I had a baseball coach when I was in middle school, try to sexually abuse me. And he had groomed me for months, where he was like, "Hey, I'll take you to, coach you on baseball. I'll, take you to the batting cage and, pitch to you while you hit." And, I was a new kid in town, in a small town in South Carolina. I didn't really have any friends. Kids were making fun of me. I had a lot of bullying and stuff that I experienced for 2 years of my life. I almost took my own life in 8th grade, because I was so miserable. And when that baseball coach tried to do that, thankfully, like, I literally can remember it to this day, hearing a voice saying, "Get out now." And so I just ran out of the house when he propositioned me, and I just ran out of the house. And thankfully, I was old enough and big enough to where I could, he wasn't going to try to fight me about it. I mean, I'm 6'2", my dad's 6'6". And so, so I'm very grateful for that. Yet it was years before I actually it was 4 or 5 years later before I actually really dealt with that. And then I went through therapy and I didn't do IFS, but I went through therapy for about 6 months. And then, within a year later, my girlfriend, came pregnant with my son. We got married and, had another child, and I just felt completely disconnected. And I began to, just live my life not in congruence with my values in many ways. And I felt, um, uh, just transparently in front of the whole world, I was unfaithful to her. And we ended up getting divorced. And I was young, and I was like, what, I had a lot of guilt and a lot of shame as a result of that. And then fast forward 10 years, my good friend, who's a level 2 IFS therapist, had been telling me about Dick Schwartz, the founder of IFS. And so we came here to Nashville for a conference with a bunch of therapists where Dick came and spoke. And then he said, "Does anybody want to have a volunteer to go through an IFS process?" And so here I was, like, "I'll do it," like, raise my hand. Yeah. And so here I was in the middle of the room, 100 therapists surrounding us. And Dr. Schwartz sits down right in front of me and takes me in, right? Where you're in that trance. And it's like hypnosis, but it's you're there and you're cognizant. But the way he did it, I remember it felt like being hypnotized. And he took me down into my heart, to the door of my heart, where there was the protector, right? There was that. I mean, it was, standing guard at the door of my heart. And basically said, "Do you know what's standing?" I'm fast forwarding through a good bit of this, but "Do you know what's standing in the door of your heart?" And I said, "No, but it's black." And he said, "Can you ask it what it's protecting you from and what it's afraid will happen if it gets out of the way?" And I was like, "I don't want to answer that question." And he said, "Can you tell what that is standing in front of your heart?" And I said, "Yes, it's the Bible." And all the therapists in the room go, it's like you just suck the air out of the room, because in the scriptures, it says, in the Bible, it says, "Guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life." So the law of I have to do this right. I have to do this right. I have to do this right. And it was this legalism kind of thing of like, I have to do everything perfect in order to earn love. That was my story. And in order to be loved, to be lovable, right? And I realized that the very thing that I was told was going to guard my heart was the thing that was preventing me from accessing my heart and being connected. And so, but it took many, many years beyond to connect with that. And literally on Christmas Day, when I first started feeling a little bit of the effects of COVID, where my throat started hurting, I messaged Dr. Schwartz on Facebook. We're connected on Facebook. And I said, I just want to thank you for the work that we did together. It's really been transformative for me in my life. And he messaged back and he was like, hey, I'm really glad that it was that impactful for you. I hope you have a, Merry Christmas and all that and happy holidays. And then I started diving in further. And the night that I had the bad COVID night, right? I was in a dark place. I mean, I was having to it was really scary. And I remember sitting in the shower and having to steam up the room so I could breathe better, right? And I'm like, this could go one way or it can go another. And but it was weird as if I chose in that moment which direction it was going to go. I was like, I believe that I'm healing. I'm not getting sicker. But in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit, I believed I am healing in this moment. And then I had a friend who did Reiki with me. And she said, imagine my hands underneath the back of your head and holding you up there. And I was laying there on my back and I was, this was on just phone, right? And I was laying on my back and I felt as if there was this bowl inside my heart. Okay. And I was struggling, and that was my chest, and I was struggling to breathe. I was having trouble breathing. And then she said, imagine a cross holding up your spine behind you. She said, I can imagine this cross holding up your spine behind you. And in that moment, all the weight, all the pain, all the shame, all the guilt, I'm not joking you, felt like it was completely lifted off of me in that moment. And whatever you want to call that, whether it's woo-woo or whether it's real, whether it's not real, whatever, to me, it was an experience that I had. It was the story that I interpreted. And I personally believed that it was real and it was happening. And that's the belief that I'm going to choose to hold on to. And the healing that I experienced in that was like this clean bowl. And there was words that came to me. Now you get to choose what you fill your sacred bowl up with. And then a couple days later, I wrote the poem Sacred Bowl that was on Instagram that I posted. But to me, it was just this cleansing process of the guilt and the shame, and the freedom that I've felt over the last 2 weeks has really been immense. But it was I strove and I tried to how do I fix this trauma? How do I fix these problems in my heart and so forth? And no matter how much therapy I did, I believe that doing the work, the actual act of doing the work, of saying, I'm going to do grief work, I'm going to do trauma work, I'm going to meet with a therapist, I'm going to meet with a life coach, I'm going to read these books, I'm going to do the meditation, I'm going to do the breath work. All those things, for me, are part of what taps you into the abundance, taps you in to the spiritual realm to say, you're actively doing this work. You're choosing to focus on the healing. Now I'm going to do the magic where the universe just steps in and something happens. And it's inexplicable to me. One thing I believe, having grown up the son of a minister, I believe anytime we say God is this, we push ourselves away from others. Who am I to say, as a human being on this earth, who God is and who God is not? I believe, I have faith, I believe it's this, but how am I to say who God is and what is not? And one of my favorite quotes of all time is Ram Dass. He says, "We're all just walking each other home."
Absolutely. How powerful is that? And it's like, it's a really funny thing that you just bring up here, because my person, as I said, I have I believe in a superior power. You want to call it universe, you want to call it God, you want to call it whatever. It's not about the name that I'm giving to it. One of the things that really, why, I mean, obviously when I left the cult, I looked at religions a bit more profoundly anyway. And one of the things that is like what really triggered me with the Catholic Church was with the Pope. How can you call him the right hand of God? I mean, seriously, who gave them the right to call the Pope the right hand of God? I mean, seriously, it's like, this is just kind of a funny thing. It's
Pope
like,
could be that. We don't know, but how do we know for sure?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's kind of funny. It's like, okay, it's all good. Basically, it's a bunch of people sitting in an office or in a conclave and deciding who's going to be the next right hand of God when the last one died or resigns. You know, because by now they will keep resigning as well. So, which is kind of interesting. But I thought it was really interesting how you put that. It's just, yes, we're going to push ourselves away from it. And, you know, and I think one of the scriptures says basically, don't have an image of myself. So, you know, why are we actually constantly making this error and trying to manifest an image of God, whatever, heaven, or whatever? As I said, I do believe in a higher power. I don't give it a label. But it's interesting how you say it was manifestation, because a lot of people do manifestation the wrong way as well. It's like saying, okay, I want one of the manifestation, because I do my daily journal as well. I do my affirmations, my gratitude, etc. I write it down. I have like this big book here in the back. This is my diary for the day. So it's like really big. And it's lovely, I tell you that. It's really good. It's a really nice one. So anyway, I do that on a daily basis. And well, obviously, it's like you're talking about abundance, and money comes to you in an abundance. Now, what people do mistakenly, they think like abundance, like $1 million coming there right on the spot. Yeah. It's not what it is. It could be even the little check of $10 that comes in unexpectedly. And I actually had it this year, and that's really my year started off that one. Every week, for some reason, I got unexpected money. I won, actually, you know, I used to be a Beachbody coach. So I entered the Beachbody challenge last year. I lost 3 stones, basically. And I entered into the challenge. And I knew I was in the challenge because 30,000 people joined the challenge. Cool. Well, I'm a semi-finalist now. Go figure. Yeah, I actually awesome. I won $500 and I'm semi-finalist now. The next step is I could win $15,000 up to the $100,000. It's not even about the money. It's like, right, I have to get back on track because over Christmas I gained back 1.5 stones. So I have to go back. I have like 40 days to go to that one.
Virtual high five. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So that was the thing. Then I don't know, I had an issue with Amazon and I actually ordered a dishwasher. They didn't deliver on time. I got really upset because like 2 times they made me sit around. Well, actually, they refunded the dishwasher to me because I bought it somewhere else. And they gave me $300 or £300 of goodwill credit as well. Wow. Because for all the hassle. You see, this is what I mean. It's just like, and then there was just I signed up a client that I didn't think I was signing up. And these are like these things. That's what I mean. It's abundance. It's not about this. People have this big goal and say, oh, I want to do $1 million. I always ask my clients, so if you have the $1 million, what do you do? Why do you want the $1 million? And I said, people don't even know why, because I keep asking every goal you set is I'm always saying, find the goal behind the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people always forget. They always say, oh, I want $1 million. So I say, why? Well, because I could afford a lifestyle that I couldn't afford. Why? And I keep digging deeper and deeper. And I asked always 5 times why minimum to get to the the goal behind the goal. And I think that's what makes some coaches just go down, they read all their questions and it's always thing. But I always try to go a bit deeper here. And as I said, manifestation and abundance comes in every single form. It could be just the $10 note you find, or whatever, the $5 note you find, or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't matter what you do. This could be abundance. And if it comes constantly, and as I told you, the last 3 weeks, it has been every week, at least 2-3 times, something came just really unexpectedly. And that's where I see these things happen. And they do happen for a reason, because obviously I'm putting out the energy as well, and I'm not expecting the $1 million on the spot. Would be nice, but I asked myself the question of the $1 million and I said, why? I don't even need it. My purpose, my personal purpose is like you say, not my passion. It's my passion and my purpose at the same time. Is helping others and helping others to get grips of their life and being their authentic themselves and enjoying their life purposeful and actually creating the ripple effect to other people. So that's why I'm doing this. It's like, it's not, there's no other reason. It's the money is a nice part of it, but the money is a commodity for me. It's not what is the attachment to it. I get, like I told you just before in the green room, I get a cheer out of these things when somebody says to me, oh my God, you unfixed me. She actually cried and said, you fixed me. And I just wrote now 4,000 words of my dissertation. And I was like, that's what it's all about. And that one makes me happy. So,
well,
to be very honest,
serving and loving that way, man, it really is. Excuse me. What I imagined when, as I said earlier, when those birds were flying together and then they separated, it came to me also in that moment that if we are bold enough to be truly authentic with who we truly are, then all those people out there that are waiting to experience a healing or to themselves become connected to their unique authenticity of who they individually are. If we who are meant to go, as you say, sparkle our magic, right? On these other people over here, if we're flocking with other people we're not meant to flock with, then all those people out there that are meant to receive that healing, perhaps, or whatever it is, they're going to miss it because we're not following our authentic path. Yet, when we're building communities, right? That's the big trend now, right? Is communities and online communities, and everybody's got an online community and so forth. And, the beauty of the Go-Giver Success Alliance and the Go-Giver community to me is that those of us who've been waiting to connect with others that are just givers at heart, yet maybe we're givers at heart, yet we've given and given and given and given, and we've closed ourselves off from receiving, so we don't practice the law of receptivity that's in one of the 5 laws of stratospheric success in the Go-Giver. Or we've focused so much on receiving, right, that we aren't as focused in the giving. And I find it's a constant realignment of myself to say, who am I? I enjoy giving. I love adding value to others. Yet when we get into the busyness of our day of, I need to execute this, I need to get this done, then in order to receive this check or this payment, because bills got to get paid or whatever, it's easy to slip into that just focusing on receiving mode. So I think that as we begin to focus our lives in certain areas, it's just daily, for me, it's a practice of daily aligning myself to who I really am and what really matters to me, so that as I walk through the day, one of my favorite people in the world is Guru Singh, who does the spiritual trip for the Platinum Partners for Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And Guru Singh has a thing where he says, navigating through life should be like going no, until you find the yes. Like, this is not for me. This is not for me. This is not for me. And then when you know yourself and what lights you up, what makes your heart sing, what makes your soul cry, then all of a sudden you are looking for constantly those things. And so you know it when you see it. And you go
Absolutely right. Well said. We are on the top of the hour, but before I let you go, first of all, I'd like you to, at the end of the show, stay on, even though I end the broadcast.
Sure.
But then we have the quick question. Normally we do between the two of us, so I have to do my own right now.
Cool.
So this is just a fun way to close up the show and to find out something about you. Pizza or pasta?
Oh man, pizza.
Morning or night?
Night.
Okay. Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite music?
Acoustic folk.
Okay. Dog or cat? Dog or cat?
He's laughing at me. He's like, what? We've never made acoustic. We've made some acoustic folk, but not much. Usually the writer. So
dog or cat?
Dog.
Okay. Pina colada or Long Island iced tea?
Woo, pina colada.
Pina colada. Okay. Paris or London?
Buddy. Yeah, I think Paris. I'm learning French right now, so.
All right. Bon,
yeah.
Alors, il commence à apprendre le français. Ouais, c'est bien. That's good. I'm ahead of you. I speak it fluently, so we can have that chat actually.
I'm practicing right now.
Okay. A historical person you would like to have had coffee with, and why?
I think that I would have liked to have spoken with Abraham Lincoln. And I would have liked to have known how he made the decisions that he did. I mean, people have written about it, but I would have liked to have talked to him directly, because he was very influential in abolishing slavery. So
yeah, very interesting choice. Very interesting choice. And a very, for me, it's Harry Truman, by the way.
Harry Truman.
I read his autobiography, and he made me laugh from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. While there were very serious moments, but he had such a wicked humor. Actually, this man, and I really like that. And I think he made really, I think after Abraham Lincoln, is one of the most influential presidents, which goes completely underrated, because he made a lot of decisions during the Second World War when he took over, and he was just thrown into it, basically. So I thought it's a very, very interesting person to have met. But anyway, book or TV? I know already the answer.
Oh, for me, I honestly, this is really interesting. I have a form of dyslexia, and so reading is harder for me. So I do a lot of audiobooks. Like when I read on a page, it's like I oftentimes read from the bottom. This is weird, but like bottom up and from the right to the left. It's just the way my brain works. It takes me longer to study. So probably TV, because I'm very visual.
Okay. And final one, Chameleon or Flamingo?
Chameleon, for sure.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, so what about you?
Yeah, this is Kellyanne will not be happy because I'm winning at the moment. I'm winning at the moment, actually. That's because it's this internal joke that we have. So you see, I'm 2 ahead now. So that's good. Hold a second. There goes the Chameleon 6 minutes.
Oh, love it.
As I said, it's an internal joke we have. So anyway, but everybody knows by now jokes.
So fun. So, what about you? What are your answers?
My answers to to all these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It's definitely pasta for me.
Okay.
It's night as well. I'm a night owl. My favorite color is that always changes, but it's teal blue, basically. Okay. I actually just ordered a BMW in this color now. So nice. Go figure. Yeah. Definitely dog. Dalmatians, to be more exact. The most famous person, or the person I told you already, would be for me Harry Truman, I think. Definitely Long Island iced tea.
Yeah.
I love Paris. I live in London, so obviously Paris for me. I do love Paris as well. And it's book for me. And obviously it's Chameleon. There we go. Here are my answers to the questions.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting that nobody has ever asked us. It's really, that's very considered. Nobody ever asked us what is our answer. So we have to do that with Kellyanne one day. I want to know what she actually thinks.
What she would say. Yeah.
What she has a question. David, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
Really, thank you. Thank you very much, because I think there's so much. As I said, your wisdom is incredible.
A lot of heartache, man. There's a saying that a man named Brennan Manning said: "In love's service, only wounded soldiers can serve." The wisdom comes from a lot of heartache and pain and working.
It does. And that is absolutely right. Now, David, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you? I should have asked you earlier, so I had a ticker. But let's just put it here so they can review it. How do they find you? They find you on Instagram, I know, which is your handle.
That's where I really share the most. You really get to see the inside of my life, of what really lights me up, right? What makes my heart sing and soul cry. And so that's at David.Bryan. Is my Instagram. So that's probably the best place to connect with me.
All right. Yeah. And you can find you on LinkedIn. I think that people that are actually on LinkedIn, watching on LinkedIn right now, they have you anyway in the speaker, so they can connect with you. Reach out to David, because he's amazing and he can help you a lot, actually, on a lot of your purposes in life. So really, really great. Thank you for being our guest. And we see you next week. Next week I have the amazing Lisa Wilmer.
Yes,
oh my God,
this is one of my favorite people. She is the best at follow-up and the best at Bob's endless referral system. She puts that thing into practice, and she's the fourth top, I think number 4 or 5 top Avon rep in the world.
Number 5 now. Bob's always keeps reminding her.
Keeps reminding her.
But she doesn't care that she's number 5. I tell you that.
She brought me on her podcast, and she has sent me these. She will take photos off of Instagram or Facebook, print them out, and send you postcards of them. Yes, it's incredible. She's unbelievable.
I got the salted caramels as well. I mean, she sent it to the UK. I don't even want to know how much it cost her. I should be very honest, to even send me this box to the UK. Yeah. And I'm so excited to have her. And I want to talk to her, especially about that one. I have just decided this year to reach out every day to at least 3 people and make a proposal to them, not even on a way to to actually do a proposal to have a call with me for 2 hours, which I'm not, it's not even a monetary. I just want to learn about them and everything. And Lisa, as you said, she puts it in so nicely. She's really reaching out to people, and it doesn't matter which. When I was on her show, she said to me, and one thing that really impressed me, she said, I'm sending them a postcard. And today I only asked myself, do they like a postcard? Would they like a postcard or not? It's not about what comes out of it. It's just, I asked myself, do they want a postcard or not? And that is exactly the way how it is. And she does it. She does it so beautifully. And I'm honestly, I love Lisa. And it's going to be such fun. She's a fun person as well. She has a lot of joy in her life. So it's like, it's going to be a great conversation as well.
Well, I'm so grateful for you, Chris. Like you do sparkle your magic to the world, man. It is truly a gift to know you and to have gotten to know you over the recent months. And I'm a big fan and believe in you, and just keep sparkling that magic, man. I believe in you.
I will. We'll try. We'll try really hard. Thank you again, David. And I'll see you. Just stay online, and we're going to end the broadcast. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.